Of all the historical virtues, the only one that cannot be faked is courage. You can pretend to be wise, you can pretend to be righteous, you can even pretend to be temperate. Sooner or later in life, you will have to face your problems, and to face your problems, you need courage. Courage is not synonymous with madness. Taking excessive risks of madness is not courage. It also doesn't mean never feeling afraid, angry, or sad. Courage is the virtue that allows you to do what is right, despite the circumstances. A courageous person may feel fear, it's something natural. But even so, she does what she believes is correct and necessary in each situation. There is no point running away from problems. The only result is that problems become bigger. A person with history acts despite obstacles, overcoming them and making their own path. We have the example of Hercules. When he was reaching adulthood, he didn't know what to do with his life. One day he fell asleep and began to dream. Two paths opened before him, and from each path a woman appeared. On one side, virtue, and on the other, pleasure. Pleasure said to Hercules, "I will take you by the sweetest and easiest path, and you will not be left without experiencing any of the pleasures. You will live without knowing difficulties and sadness. You will enjoy great pleasures, achieving them with the least possible effort." Pleasure promised Hercules an easy life, with shortcuts and no challenges, a life with as little work as possible. After the proposal of pleasure, virtue said, "I will explain to you how things are in reality. The gods do not grant anything to men without effort. If you want to achieve something, you have to work hard to achieve it. If you want all of Greece to admire your courage, you must try to do something good for all of Greece." Virtue promised him a difficult path, with possible rewards and great sacrifices. Hercules chose virtue. He did not live an easy life, but rather a life of purpose. He did hard work and made several mistakes along the way. He courageously faced everything he needed to do until he became a god. Just like Hercules, historical people choose the path of virtue, and to act with virtue, courage is necessary. In this video, I will talk about courage, the second of the four historical virtues. I imagine you already know the story of the Battle of Thermopylae. King Xerxes' Persian army, with 300,000 soldiers, threatened to destroy all of Greece. Faced with the lack of coordination of the Greek armies to defend themselves against the Persian invaders, the king of Sparta, Leonidas, decides to face them to buy time for the Greeks to organize themselves. As he cannot take the Spartan army into battle due to religious reasons, Leonidas leaves for the Thermopylae Gorge with 300 men of his personal guard. They knew it was suicide, 300 against 300,000, they had no chance of winning. Still, they knew it was what they needed to do. It was their duty as Spartans and Greeks. They were probably scared at the prospect of dying, but they didn't show it and didn't allow it to affect their judgment about what was right. This is courage, facing a complicated situation that will push you to the limit and, despite this, acting correctly and facing the problem. You don't run away from it. The 300 Spartans died at Thermopylae, along with King Leonidas. But thanks to their sacrifice and courage, the Greeks were able to organize themselves in Salamis and Plataea, where they defeated the Persians. Thanks to the courage of the 300 Spartans, all of Greece was saved. This story is a clear example of courage. Legend has it that Leonidas defended Hercules himself. Without a doubt, both are clear examples of historical courage. The historicals did not seek risk, nor did they intentionally place themselves in dangerous situations. They did not avoid danger or unpleasant situations. However, when they believed that something more important was at risk, they did not hesitate to face them. For historians, Courage is absolutely essential to possess the other three virtues: wisdom, justice, and temperance. Acting rationally implies acting with wisdom, justice, and temperance. And, to act rationally, you need to be courageous. It is necessary to have courage to face your ego, courage to fight your prejudices and get closer to the truth, courage to recognize your mistakes, even if it hurts, courage to face external opinions, courage to seek to achieve your goals, and courage to admit everything what can be changed. To work on our courage, we must focus on three aspects. The first is to work on our sense of responsibility. We must reflect on the things that are under our responsibility and be aware of what this means. Being responsible for something implies caring and protecting. It means that when something doesn't go well, it's our fault. We cannot be courageous if we do not become responsible. In the history of the 300 Spartans, the 300 Spartans who went to fight were aware that they were responsible for protecting and defending their city and the people who live in it. No one would be willing to face such a numerous enemy without understanding that this is their responsibility. It is what they must do, whether they like it or not. Many people's lives depend on them. The second is understanding what is in our control and what is not. There are countless situations that cause us fear and that do not depend on us. It is important to distinguish what we can control and what we cannot control. Historical courage starts from the following questions. If something that scares me is completely out of my control, what sense does it make to be afraid of something I cannot control? If the actions of others are not under our control, why be afraid of others? If the external cannot harm us, only our own thoughts can affect us, why be afraid of what is external to us? Historicists reflected on these questions so as not to feel afraid, for example, of poverty, public opinion, illness, or even death. A record is not foolish or courageous just for the sake of being courageous. A history is not afraid because it realizes that there is nothing. The third is to practice courage. In the words of Seneca, there is no person less fortunate than one whom diversity forgets, for he has no opportunity to test himself. Courage must be practiced daily. With small everyday actions, you practice leaving your comfort zone, daring little by little to do things you don't feel comfortable with. It's important to get used to being brave, because at some point we will all face situations that will require courage to overcome them. Don't let these situations surprise you unprepared. Train your courage daily. What did you think of this virtue? I await your response in the comments. I hope this video inspires you to become more courageous in situations that require it. Remember that courage means acting correctly, even in fear or in the face of circumstances. Therefore, it must always be accompanied by prudence. It's not about acting impulsively, but about acting with purpose, taking risks for the greater good. I encourage you to put this historical virtue into practice, just like Hercules and Leonidas. I leave here 2 videos so you can continue learning about Stoicism. If you liked the video, don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Leave your like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you and see you next time.